The front door slammed against the wall so hard that my family photos shook. A woman in her 50s stormed into my kitchen, her face contorted with fury, brandishing a clipboard like a weapon. She wore a blazer with an HOA president pin glinting in the afternoon light pouring through my windows. "This is the third violation this month," she shrieked, her voice sharp enough to crack glass. "Your grass is half an inch too tall. Your garbage cans were visible for 37 minutes past collection time. And don't get me started on that monstrosity you call a mailbox." I stood frozen in my living room doorway, coffee mug in hand, watching this stranger march through my home like she owned it. She ran her fingers along my countertop, checking for dust, then unbelievably opened my refrigerator and peered inside with a grimace. "Excuse me," I said, keeping my voice even despite the shock pulsing through me. "You need to leave now." She spun around, her dark hair swinging dramatically. "I am Linda Grayson, president of the Crestview Pines HOA, and I have every right to inspect properties for compliance." As she reached for my phone on the counter, presumably to snap photos of some invented violation, I stepped forward. My years of police training kicked in, and I spoke with the calm authority that had de-escalated countless tense situations. "Ma'am, you've just committed a felony." 3 weeks earlier, I'd moved into this supposedly quiet suburban neighborhood, hoping for peace after 20 years on the force. Detective Robert Callahan, that's medicated officer with commendations for excellence in service. All I wanted was a place to relax, tend my garden, and enjoy weekend barbecues. Linda Grayson had other plans. From day one, she'd made it her mission to nitpick everything about my property. My mailbox was 2 inches too low, according to her measuring tape. There was a barely visible oil stain on my driveway that apparently violated subsection 12.4 of the HOA guidelines. She even complained that my American flag was the wrong shade of red. I tried to be polite, nodding as she listed infractions that would make a meter maid roll their eyes. Neighbors warned me about her with knowing glances and sympathetic pats. "That's just Linda," they'd say with weary sighs. "She's been president for 5 years and runs this place like a military base." I'd dealt with tough characters before. I figured I could handle one overzealous HOA president. Everything changed after the barbecue incident. I'd invited a few neighbors over on a Saturday afternoon, nothing wild, just burgers and music at a reasonable volume. We wrapped up by 8 p.m., well within any noise ordinance. But Linda showed up at 6:30, measuring the distance between my grill and the property line with a tape measure. 4.7 feet, she declared triumphantly. HOA regulations clearly state all cooking equipment must be at least 5 feet from property boundaries. After that, her harassment escalated to psychological warfare. Anonymous notes appeared on my door daily, typed in aggressive all caps. "Your hedges are asymmetrical. Your doormat is not regulation gray. Your car was parked facing the wrong direction for 14 minutes. She started taking photos over my fence, her camera flash going off at all hours. Once, I caught her on a stepladder, trying to peer into my garage window. When I confronted her, she claimed she was documenting architectural inconsistencies. The gossip campaign kicked in next. Suddenly, neighbors I'd never met knew intimate details about my alleged violations. Linda had created a neighborhood Facebook group dedicated solely to trashing my property's supposed failings. She'd even photoshopped images to make my lawn look patchier than it was. That fateful afternoon, I was in my backyard replacing warped fence boards after recent rain. It was calming work, the kind of simple task that cleared my mind after years of handling serious crimes. I had my noise-canceling headphones on, classic rock drowning out the world, completely unaware of what was happening inside my home. Linda had been watching, waiting for her chance. She'd seen me head to the backyard and noticed I'd left my front door unlocked while carrying lumber through the house. In her warped mind, this was her opportunity to find the evidence she needed to get me ousted from her pristine neighborhood. She'd slipped through my front door like a petty thief, though she'd probably argue she was more like a health inspector. Her sensible flats barely made a sound on my hardwood floors as she invaded my privacy with the confidence of someone who'd never faced real consequences. I finished with the fence after about 45 minutes and headed inside for water. The sight that greeted me made my blood run cold, not from fear, but from 20 years of police work teaching me to recognize criminal behavior. There was Linda, bent over my dining table, photographing my mail with her phone, personal letters, bills, even a birthday card for my mom, all spread out like evidence in her imaginary case against me. She'd already been through my kitchen drawers, several still hanging open. A notebook on my counter had been flipped through, and I could see she'd snapped pictures of my wall calendar. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" I asked, my voice carrying the same tone I used in interrogations. She straightened up, not even bothering to look embarrassed. Instead, she puffed out her chest, clutching her clipboard like a shield. "I'm conducting a lawful HOA inspection. You've been reported for numerous violations, and I have the authority to investigate." "No," I said, pulling out my phone to start recording. "You have zero authority to enter my home without permission. That's called breaking and entering, Linda. It's also trespassing, invasion of privacy, and, depending on what you photographed, potentially identity theft." She let out a harsh, barking laugh. "Don't be ridiculous. The HOA charter gives me full inspection rights. It's all perfectly legal." I couldn't help but smile. "Really? Show me where in the HOA charter it says you can enter private residences without consent." "I'll wait." Her face reddened as she flipped through her papers, searching for justification that didn't exist. "It's implied. How else am I supposed to ensure compliance? From the outside of people's homes, like a normal person," I replied, then reached for my wallet. "Let me show you something, Linda." The moment I flipped open my badge, her entire demeanor shifted. The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might collapse. "Detective Robert Callahan," it read, alongside my badge number and the city police department seal. "You're a cop," she whispered, her voice suddenly tiny. 20 years on the force," I confirmed, then pointed to the corner of my living room. "And that security camera has been recording since the moment you walked in. So has the one in my kitchen and the one by my front door that caught you entering without permission." Her clipboard hit the floor with a clatter. "This is a misunderstanding. I knocked, and I thought I heard you say come in from the backyard. Through my noise-canceling headphones? That's impressive hearing, Linda." I pulled out my work phone, already dialing. "I'm calling this in. You can explain your side to the responding officers." "Wait." She lurched forward, then froze when I raised a warning hand. "We can work this out. I'll leave right now, and we can forget this happened." "That's not how crime works," I said patiently. "You don't get to commit felonies and take them back when you get caught." "Dispatch, this is Detective Callahan, badge number 5283. I need units at my residence for a burglary in progress. Suspect is still on scene." Linda's legs buckled, and she sank into my dining chair, the same one she'd been leaning over while violating my privacy. "Please," she begged, tears starting to flow. "I have a reputation. I run a real estate agency. This will ruin me." "You should have thought of that before you broke into a police officer's home," I said, keeping my distance while maintaining eye contact. "Or anyone's home, for that matter. The badge doesn't make this worse, Linda. It just means I know exactly what charges you're facing." Within minutes, sirens approached. Linda heard them too and made one last desperate plea. "I'll resign from the HOA. I'll approve all your violations. I'll pay for your new fence." "You're really not getting this," I said as two uniformed officers appeared at my still open front door. "This isn't about HOA politics anymore. This is about criminal behavior." I briefed the officers, showing them the security footage on my phone. Their expressions shifted from professional courtesy to genuine shock as they watched Linda rifling through my belongings. One of them, Officer Reynolds, shook his head in disbelief. "Ma'am," he addressed Linda with stern professionalism, "I need you to stand up and put your hands behind your back." "You can't arrest me," Linda shrieked, jumping to her feet. "I'm the HOA president. I know the mayor. My husband is a lawyer." "Ma'am, none of that matters right now," Officer Reynolds said, producing handcuffs. "You're under arrest for criminal trespass and unlawful entry." The metallic click of the handcuffs echoed through my dining room. Linda's face twisted with rage and humiliation as Officer Reynolds read her rights. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." "This is ridiculous," she spat, struggling against the cuffs. "It's his word against mine." "Actually," I interjected, holding up my phone, "it's your actions against video evidence. High-definition video evidence, I might add." As the officers led her toward the door, Linda turned back with a venomous glare. You'll regret this. I'll sue you for false arrest. I'll make your life hell. The entire HOA will come after you. Looking forward to it, I replied with a wave as they guided her outside. The whole neighborhood had come out to watch the spectacle. Every porch, driveway, and sidewalk was filled with residents who'd suffered under Linda's reign of terror. Mrs. Lee from 2 houses down started a slow clap that spread through the crowd. Tom from across the street raised his beer in salute. As the police cruiser pulled away with Linda in the back, still ranting about lawsuits and revenge, I heard my next-door neighbor mutter with satisfaction, "About damn time someone stood up to her." The district attorney reviewed my security footage and witness statements from neighbors who'd seen Linda enter my house. The charges were airtight: criminal trespass, unlawful entry, and attempted identity theft for photographing my personal documents. She faced up to 3 years in prison and fines up to $25,000. Her lawyer husband tried to negotiate a plea deal, but the prosecutor wasn't interested in leniency. Linda Grayson, the terror of Crestview Pines HOA, stood before a judge 2 months later. He delivered her sentence: 1 year of probation, $5,000 in fines, and 200 hours of community service. But the legal consequences paled compared to the social fallout. The HOA board held an emergency meeting the day after her arrest, voting unanimously to remove her as president. She sat in the back row, tears streaming down her face, as neighbor after neighbor recounted years of harassment and bullying. Her real estate agency dropped her within a week, citing damage to their reputation. The local newspaper ran a story with the headline, "HOA President Arrested for Breaking into Officer's Home," complete with her booking photo. As the judge read her sentence, Linda's shoulders shook with silent sobs. The woman who'd terrorized an entire neighborhood with measuring tapes and violation notices had finally faced the ultimate consequence: a complete loss of the power she'd wielded so recklessly.